Oh, hello there, Outliers and Trailblazers. Niiamah Ashong here, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey here today. We have an incredible roundtable set up for you, which is really a roundtable of continuing to not only push yourself forward, but to be real, honest, authentic, and to do it in a way that continues to impact those around you. I'm excited for today's roundtable and for whatever comes up in this conversation. Stay tuned for it. Let's make sure you get a chance to get to know the outliers and trailblazers who have joined us here today. Steve, why don't we start with you? Would you mind letting us know more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. I am a tech entrepreneur. I've been a tech entrepreneur since I was 22. I own a software company in Austin, Texas, and I also wrote a book called The Ripple Effect: Maximizing the Power of Relationships for Your Life and Business. My passion, and I would say the game that I'm playing, is helping people understand the importance of connecting in an authentic way, how to build a really strong, supportive network, both personally and professionally, also building your teams and organizations that are built on a culture of connection and relationship building. And my passion is really helping people understand how critical that is to their success. Some people call it soft skills, but there's nothing soft. Soft applies, simple and easy, and there's nothing simple and easy about connecting with another human being. So it's become my passion of helping people understand the importance of it and to do it well. So thanks for having me today.
Thanks for being here, Steve. I love the game that you're playing. Appreciate you being here. Gina, let's get to know you here. Mind telling us more about you and the game you're playing?
My name is Gina Best. I'm a serial entrepreneur here in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Um, Interesting language because game to me doesn't jive in my head, so I had to think about it. I am playing the game of reinvention. It isn't about appearances. It's not about all the gold stars, the likes, the applause. It's about the truth, the power, and finally choosing you. We follow the path of success that's laid out for us, yet once we get there, we realize it's not what we want. It's about being free. Like to me, success is freeing, not how do I look successful? It's how am I free? What will they think? It's not that, it's what do I want? And it's not about performance, it's about stepping back into our truths and telling our story. And that way, honestly, you end up being way more successful personally and professionally.
I appreciate you, Gina. Thanks for being here. Thanks for bringing this up to the table. Samir, why don't we get to know you? Tell us more about you and the game you're playing.
Sure. Samir Azizi here. I guess I'm playing the game of attention, particularly attention arbitrage. I'm the co-founder of Toronto DAO, which is a grassroots organization here in Toronto with the mission to nurture and retain tech talent in Toronto. I'm the owner of Parkdale Intelligence Agency that specializes on marketing for AI and crypto companies with the emphasis on affiliate marketing. I'm also the host of Azizi Podcast, which is my podcast that I started in 2019, which I'm very passionate about. And I think I do a couple more things that I currently forgetting, but usually, basically, that's what I do. And I'm very passionate about tech.
Well, thanks, Samir. Thanks for being here. I'm excited to see how we play with it in today's conversation. And then Florence, how about you? Let us know more about you and the game you're playing.
Sure. My name is Florence Amerley Adu. I'm based in Accra, Ghana, as well as Brooklyn, New York. I'm currently in Accra. And here I am the CEO and founder of Leap Transmedia Productions, which is a production company focused on nurturing future minds. And we create educational and informational content. I am the host of the Global Citizens Podcast, which is the podcast that inspires a borderless mindset around manifesting a new world. And I would say that I am playing the longevity game. And that includes I have this question on the podcast that is, what is your mindset hack? And so, what that means to me is that my mindset is always set towards what is the solution to living the best life that I can, particularly in the context of being an African storyteller. So, health, wellness, and mindset progress is that game.
Well, I like when I say this, I appreciation, I guess, is like my love language. Like that's how I receive things. And I'm very appreciative here because each of you have chosen to take that question of like what's the game you're playing and really root it in very unique ways. You know, Steve, one of the things that I appreciated when you came out and you started talking about connection was how you took something that could be a little bit more like amorphous or like not tangible, and you're like, but like this has real business implications, this has real world implications, and there's it actually continues to be. I'm both a math major and I worked in learning development and culture. So I'm like, I will tell you at like people is harder than the math part, right? When they say the hard skills in there. So I would love to start us here, and this is a question I'm going to ask for everyone. But the question that comes to my mind here is, what's something that you do that most people would see on the surface and think that it's one thing? But like underneath it, you know that you're playing at a much deeper level. You're moving things much stronger than what comes off at the surface. Is there anyone here that wants to take that on? Steve, I see you're open, so why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I would say probably the way that I use questions, right? I'm naturally inquisitive. I am always curious about people's stories, but people are very guarded, especially in today's world. Everybody's trying to figure out an angle or some sort of tactic to benefit themselves, and I try to leverage the power of a question to put people at ease, to build rapport and trust. And I've come up with, gosh, probably at this point over 1,000 what I call ripple connection questions. They're questions that are fun to ask and fun to answer, but they're all designed to elicit what I call a connection point, little bite-sized morsels of information you learn about people. And then I try to leverage that to really get to know them at a deeper, more authentic level. And it's through that process that I become a little better at connecting myself. I'm naturally shy and introverted, so this work does not come to me just inherently. But it is super critical and important for us to be able to, so to speak, get along with the other kids in the sandbox. I always tell people, for my work at least, very few of us actually had somebody take us by the hand in that first job or when we started our first company and say, come on, kid, let me show you how to get along with the other kids in the sandbox. We assume we know how to do it, but very few of us do. And so for me, it's become a real passion in how to leverage the power of a question to actually get a conversation going and then take that conversation beyond just that interaction, but into power. And what you learn about people, how you apply it to show that you are truly authentically listening and really understanding what was important to them, or what, something little morsel that you picked up from their story about their childhood, or a job or a struggle. There's just gold in those hills if you dig deep enough and look to leverage it.
Um, I would say that what people read as connecting folks. I live in a context here in Ghana where it's very transactional. And so everyone does something and expects something in return, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel that I generally just, if I know someone, I'll connect you. I don't need a fee. I don't need anything like that. I just am looking at that progress for us all moving together. So I think that's one thing that people might misread is, oh, why are you helping me? What's the ulterior motive? And it's just because I believe in the story for all of us to be success.
I just want to jump in here and say I'm sort of similar to Steve and Florence as well, actually. I guess like what people can misread about me is like, why do I do my podcast? My podcast is relatively small, and it's kind of like on the surface of like, okay, well, you got to, like, I don't know, like 80 views on your YouTube channel and like another 100 on your like Apple whatever podcast thing. But what I like about it is that I don't know if I'm a good interviewer, but I'm definitely a good listener. And through having the guests that I'm actually interested in and having this great and deep conversation, it's not just a relationship where it's just like one and done. It becomes sort of like a professional relationship or a friendship, even where whoever is joining the podcast is actually joining an ecosystem within my network, and we're kind of like going back and forwards, and I can refer them or help them, or even they can help me and become like my client, for example. We can help each other. So that's like a very, very powerful tool that I've developed, and it's really has a tremendous emotional and relationship wise ROI. It's like just off the charts, and I truly enjoy it.
And I'll jump in here because I'm a combination of all three of them. I'm a natural connector as well, and that's how I built the businesses. But the other side of it too is I'm naturally one of these people that people tell me their life stories without any prompting. It's one of my superpowers. So, and when I ask a question, a few years ago, someone said to me, when you ask me how I am, I actually get the impression that you want to know. And it's true, because if I ask the question, I want to know. And believe me, if I don't want to know, I'm not going to ask the question. Because the one thing I am is, I've lost my filter. Let's be honest. I'm pretty blunt and in your face. So, and I'm also with Steve about we're in a loneliness epidemic. When I go to the grocery store, I make a little deal with myself before I go in that I'll say hello to 25 people because some people haven't spoke to anybody all day. So I'm connection. I'm about getting to know people. And I use the line, I'm naturally nosy. And then they just tell me their life story.
Yeah, I like this here because one of the things that I appreciate about this group in particular, like all of y'all know like how good you are at what you've chosen to do, right? Or at least the way that you've chosen to do it. Like Gina, you're like, just so you know, this is how I am, right? And interestingly enough, rather than having that pull people away, they're actually drawn in more. You're like, I'm naturally nosy, and they're like, well, then I'll just tell you, you know. I'm thinking about this here for any trailblazer outlier that's listening, and what's going through my mind is the anyone that's in the space right now that's thinking, well, the way that I do it is different, right? Like, will they actually accept me? Is this actually like acceptable to do? And like, mind you, there are other entrepreneurs. They're out there doing things right now, but they're running into the cap of their own success. They put a ceiling on what they can do because of some of like the limitations that they put on in terms of what will be acceptable going from there. Gina, you already have your hands up, so like I'll be coming to you on that. Like, I would love to see like if y'all can speak from your own experience here, when you run into that cap, when you try and level up and you run into something like that, let us know about your experience. Let us know about how you walk through or any things that's worked for you. Gina, do you mind if we start with you on this one?
Oh, please. This is my specialty. So it's really interesting because right now you can see my hair is kind of light purple, but I'm not the average person. So I went through a big period of time that I tried to fit the mold, and the reality is I don't fit a mold. I have multiple tattoos. It depends on what week my hair is colored. And you know what? This is my version of success. And I have, I own a mortgage brokerage, a multi-million dollar mortgage brokerage. And not long ago, I was invited to speak at an event. And it's really interesting because I went in and I didn't know anybody. And I usually have a wingman and I didn't. And I went in and this woman said to me, "Oh my God, you're Gina Best." And I said, "Yes." She said, "Can I hug you?" I'm like, "Sure." And she hugged me. And then this guy said to me, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm Gina Best." And he said, "And why are you here?" And I just, you know what? It was the attitude. Like he sized me up from head to toe because I didn't fit the mold. I didn't have a suit on. I didn't. So I was a little cheeky and said, "Well, I make more money than you do." And they asked me to talk. And he just went away. And it was, I thought about it after and was like too quick to say it, but I wasn't because like he literally sized me up because I don't fit the mold. And the reality is my success is I've chosen that this is it, and I give people the permission to build their success the way they want to look at it. It's whatever goes. We don't have to fit in the boxes anymore. I come from the finance world, so I'm a woman in a man's world, and I was the early '90s, and I used to have to say to guys, my eyes are up here. So it's interesting as you go along, and its question is do you own your truth enough to stand in it?
Gina, I love that, by the way. Like, I'm gonna have to like, I'm gonna come back to that question here, in a bit. Do you own your truth enough to stand in it? Outliers, let that one sit with you here. All right, let's keep the conversation flowing here. Steve, Samir, Florence, anything coming to any of you?
I
I just
can, I
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna ask like what the question was again because Gina's story was so engaging that I was like, oh my God, like how can I match that? But that's just one like quick question about that. What was the question again?
Yeah, the question came to me in real time, so now I'm going back and I'm trying to rewrite it myself. And here I have to come back to the specific question a bit. What I would say is this: if there's anything that feels like it's on point to talk about, either based on what Gina has said or what's flowing through you right now, go ahead and put it into the space. Like we'll work on that. All right.
Sure.
All right.
So the question that I understood or heard was where I've fallen into this role where people underestimate or are in the way of, okay, you don't show up who you are necessarily, or you just are a mystery. And so I think I've been a mystery in many ways because I studied engineering. And so I've been a scientist. And in my other world, my New York world, I have a real estate and project management consultancy. And so similarly, I'm in a man's world. And so I do a bit of that here as well. And I think when folks observe the engineering mind of mine, they are a little bit put off because most of them think, oh, you're a model, you don't have a brain, that kind of thing. So I've experienced that quite a bit. And I think that standing in the truth is definitely truth to power, because when you know yourself and you know what you've come here to do and you've decided to click in on that mission, there's no stopping you.
I have a bit of a personal, I would say, story about the hitting the ceiling. And Florence, that was actually very, very deep, your perspective. And that kind of got me thinking about like my path. And I started as an accountant. So I was in the United States for 9 years. I was studying accounting and I was working as an accountant for I would say 3 years. And what I realized at the end is like the idea that I don't like that and I don't necessarily enjoy that. And that's where kind of like I hit my ceiling, is just like, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? Just crunch numbers in the office. And so I moved to Canada and I decided to start kind of like a new path in the career and become a marketing guy. Specifically, I started with like a client success management and interaction with people. And I got to say that was the best decision of my life. And I guess that my advice for all the trailblazers out there is like not to be afraid to kind of like pivot a little bit in your career path or in your decision making and try something new that you really like and see if you want to do this longer.
I'll add to that. First and foremost, I just got to say I'm super, super glad to be on this call with you guys, because I think I've found like my tribe, and I wasn't even looking for it today. So I will say that one of the things that I think when I heard the question, and I loved how Gina said, step into your power and step into that space and own it. I think as an entrepreneur, I spent a lot of my time, especially as a young entrepreneur, with that imposter syndrome that, I don't belong, I don't have the education, the experience, I didn't have the smarts. I grew up in a really negative environment. So being shy and introverted, it was really hard to break free from that challenge of that environment. And really what I figured out as an entrepreneur and I tell this to a lot of folks that I coach, nobody's coming to save you. You have to save yourself. You have to be your biggest advocate. You have to be your best cheerleader. You have to be your biggest motivator as entrepreneurs. Oftentimes we're visionaries. We see things that other people do not, and you'll have a lot of people will tell you why things will not work, why it's, the idea is dumb, or how it'll never get funded, or you'll never make any money doing it. And I also see how many entrepreneurs give up super early because they don't believe in themselves. And, the one thing I think that is essential for any entrepreneur is that you got to believe in yourself far more than anybody else will, because you are likely going to be, paddling the boat on your own for a very long time. And it can be tough and it can be challenging. And especially if you suffer from imposter syndrome, it can be fatal for your business, for your team, for your future. And really, at the end of the day, you're the only person that can actually navigate your path to success. And so stepping into that power, believing in what you do and how you do it, and then getting and rising above not only your own self-doubts, but the doubts of other people is super, super important. And it's a work in progress. For me, it's a real challenge every single day that I continue to have to avoid backsliding, despite being a successful entrepreneur and having the career that I've had. It's still a process to this day. And so I think, for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's still that'll feel very similar to the battle they fight. My advice would just be keep fighting, keep being your own best advocate, because the world will catch up and recognize it eventually.
I got to jump in here because everyone does imposter syndrome. Question is to what degree. But I'll tell you, one of the secrets is you follow the loudest voice, and the loudest voice has to be your own.
That's
And if it can't be
yeah.
yours, if it can't be yours, borrow someone you know who's really loud.
We were just now talking about imposter syndrome, and one of my mentors and coaches, his name's Rich Liffin. He introduced something to me where it's like, yeah, the imposter syndrome, like that's the compass, especially for us here. It's like if you're not feeling like an imposter, then you're probably playing at a level that is like where comfort has either comfort or safety has seeped in. So it's like these things that most of us try and avoid and be like, I don't want you to know that I'm feeling like an imposter. I'm like, if I'm not there, then I probably am not playing the right game right now. And that's part of the reason why I use the language when I introduce everyone here. I say, tell us about the game you're playing. It's because this stuff, like, I get how we are out on our own, and using language like, do you want to play, or do you want to like what game are you playing? It actually changes the dynamic from something of what do you like, what needs to get right. Like to something where if you're playing a game, you can win sometimes, you can lose sometimes, you can have some fun with it. It's the same, but we're holding it differently, you know. And so I want to spend a little bit more time here because Samir, you brought in earlier about your podcast and your YouTube channel, and you're like, look, I'm doing all these things out in the world, and people are like, hey, why are you even bothering with this other thing here? And Steve and Gina, y'all were just talking about like having to be in that place before you get traction, right? And now we're meeting you, and either people have their assumptions about you, or like they're like, well, I guess people just have their assumptions about you, right? That like one way or the other, like, oh, you've done this, you've been successful, you clearly don't have these issues or anything like that. And it's part of like I want to dive in just a little bit longer on this, give you all just a little bit more space to speak to this. And I'd like to speak from it from not from the person of someone that's like started, you know, it's not like the college student that's trying to get in, but I'd like to speak to it to someone who like has seen different levels of success on their own terms. You know, you brought that in here. I've been thinking about like, what's my definition of success here, you know, but like success on their own terms. How, like, what are some of the things that either, I think this is a question I'd like to ask specifically. What's something that no matter what stage in your career you've been has been like an ongoing challenge that you have to continuously overcome? All right. What's something that's been something that like you're like, I thought I put this behind me, and it keeps showing up each time you level up. Anyone want to take that one on? Yeah, Gina, please get us started.
So interesting. Like, I think everything's a circle, right? Everything is in life is a circle. And I've had, the years that I make a crap load of money, yet I'm miserable, and years that I'm not miserable and didn't make a crap load of money. So it's a big circle. But no matter what, like, prime example, this morning I woke up and I had a bit of the weight of the world on me. Let's be honest, because it happens to the best of us. I've done the work. I've peeled the layers. I know the things that I need to do. I know when I'm a little blue on a Monday morning, I need to move my body because my psychology follows my physiology. I know all those things. But I got to tell you, I had a good hour or two that I sat in it until I shook it, and then I shook it. But no matter how much work we do in business and in life, it's a big circle and shit comes up, right? And it's about resilience. That's what it comes down to. There are going to be days that you're not going to want to get out of bed. I do a workshop with new entrepreneurs locally, and I do a why workshop because there's days you're going to want to pull the covers over your head and think, nah, not getting up today. But you got to find it bigger, and as long as you can hold on to that why, that reason you do this, that is not external. When you have to do the same shit over and over again, you do it. And I mean, the reality is, if I had to cold call, I would starve to death. Not doing it, But sometimes when business is really slow, we dial for dollars. And you call, and I've found a way to do it that I don't dial for dollars. I call and check in on people. Huge difference, So it's finding what works for you, but it's a big circle. There's always going to be things that you have to work on.
Um, for me, it's just a constant reminder that I'm always falling in this trap, but I'm always hard on myself. No matter how successful I get, or no matter how hard I work, I always feel like it's like not always, like, but a lot of the times I feel like it's not enough. Like I'm not enough. Like I could do more. I feel like I'm slacking. I can't. Like I get this high out of productivity, which is not a good thing. It's not something to be proud of, because productivity is like, it's kind of like it's an illusion, right? You better like just work on something smart rather than just constantly work on something that is not very important. And so that's where I'm like, oh man, I'm not good enough. I'm not working hard enough. And my wife always tells me like, no, no, no. Like she always reminds me like, you are enough. You're working harder than everyone else. So like, you're okay. Like give yourself some break. But those things like often come up, and you're just like, you're trying to push them away, but um, they get back to you, you know, and you have to sort of work on that all the time. So that's what I'm working on, or at least try to work on.
I would say it's maybe a bit of work-life balance, or, kind of like on the time management side. So when you're in this startup phase, I've done this many times, or not many times, enough times that it's the the life that you're living is all about the work that you're living, as opposed to the other parts of the life. So I remember times when my friends were like, "We never see you anymore," and so I would just say, "Look, it's the work," because what I would spend my time on when I spoke about longevity is I would spend my time on making sure that I am well from my own mental, physical side of things, and not as social. And so I think it's really balancing the potential community sacrifices that sometimes happen when you are kind of so mission driven that you really have your eyes on the prize, and you can't always be with everyone in person. I think now in this day and age when we have so much Zooms and, all these, digital ways of connecting, I think that changes the game quite a bit. But I think it's that staying connected to the community while you're still trying to be on the grind is always a challenge.
Yeah, I think for me, it's yeah, and Florence said it really well. It's balance, right? Figuring out what that balance is for your life, both work life and your personal life. I wasn't very good in my early days as an entrepreneur of creating that balance, which created a lot of challenges and frustrations in my personal relationship. Fortunately, my wife wanted to divorce me probably a dozen times, right? But at the end of the day, she stuck it out because she saw potential in the prospect in where I was going and what I was doing. But sometimes it was hard for me to get out of my own head and not be in the work mode continually 24/7. When I was an early entrepreneur, I slept about 3 hours a night. I would leave the office, go home and eat dinner, and then I would work until midnight, 1 o'clock, sleep for a couple hours, get to the office by 4:30, and you can't go that way, right? And I still have that tendency from time to time to struggle to find that balance. But one of the things that has really helped me really adapt my attitude towards that is realizing nothing is going to be perfect, and perfect is the enemy of good enough, and being in a position to finally give up all the control and delegate responsibility, allow myself to not have a perfect product or a perfect, whatever, and, all the time before I launch it, is been a big, big lesson for me. That's allowed me to give myself some space to see what's working, what doesn't work, recognize that I don't have to be the one that solves it all the time. If I brought the right people into my arena, then they're going to help me and they're going to take some of that load off. And then the only way that I'm a good entrepreneur is through what I use my brain for, which is my creativity, my problem solving, my ability to be present and engaged with people. And you can't do that if you're burning the candle at both ends. And so that was a big realization for me. It took me probably a good 15, 20 years to realize that in my career. But once I did, it was like Katie bar the door, because everything just shifted and changed. But I still have a tendency to fall back into bad habits from time to time. That's why having a good partner, and my wife to remind me when I need to take a step back, or I need to, find that balance. I don't have to work until 8 o'clock every night, getting out, leaving in the middle of the afternoon to go on a hike. that's where I do my best thinking, is on the trail away from my laptop and my electronic devices and all the people that are trying to get a hold of me, and giving myself some time and space to recover both mentally, and then leverage, like Gina said, that movement really, really helps ground you in a big, big way. So being physical, doing something exercise oriented, or physical movement has really been a big game changer for me. And striking that balance is just essential. And it's the one thing that I see so many entrepreneurs deal with, because they often burn themselves out and then they're no good to anybody.
I'm very grateful for all this here. It's as if you were talking to me specifically, each and every one of you. So thank you for that. I feel you there. Outliers, I'm going to introduce this element here where I'm going to say, like, take some time right now to integrate for insight. Integrate for insight. The way that we have this conversation here is like we're having this conversation with you. You are the sixth person on this roundtable, even though like we're not hearing your thoughts right now. You can, like come comment on anything you see that we put out there. Please take the time to come follow us and join our worlds. We'll spend some time at the end of this year making sure you can dive into everyone's world as well. And the reason for having this conversation is so that we can all see a part of ourselves in there, and allow that 1% more to belong and to use it for good. It's really what's flowing out for me. One of the things that I really get about this panel is that y'all own who you are. And the things about this is that, like, the thing is, because like it's like there's no weakness here, because you know who you are, and you invite people to join you in the journey of that. Like this is what's on the table. If you like this, then come get it. If you want Chinese food today, come eat it. If not, go get Italian. But like I serve Chinese, like it's really quite awesome. And Outliers, I just want to like bring that in. If you need to go back and listen to it, like listen to there's probably about like 12 different ways that each of the people here on this roundtable have found a way to integrate who they are in just a seamless and flawless way that honestly, like I really just want to call in, because I think sometimes we get caught in I have to be humble. I'm like, I think that the humility is allowing yourself to be seen enough, and to be so that you can go out and make your impact, or really go and touch people's lives from there. I'm going to move on to one more question, but does anyone want to speak to anything around like just owning yourself or anything like that? Is there anything that comes to mind or heart on that?
Just on the weakness part, like when
Yeah.
you say there's no weakness, like for me it was like, whoa, like I have plenty of weakness which I'm trying to overcome every day, for example. Right, just I feel like, and that's okay to have this weakness, and that's the strength is in fighting, I feel like. And I don't know, like that's just, I just wanted to add that, like,
Oh, I'm glad you did.
you don't have to be like invincible, like it's okay to be a little weak sometimes.
Well, like I think that's the thing about it, right? It's almost as like it's like, hey, I'm here with open arms. That's where I think I'm coming from. But I'm really glad that you brought this in here. It's like there's not. It's like even here, Samir, like in the acceptance of that, like, hey, by the way, I want you to see me, like for real. I'm not invincible here. There's a strength that's with that. There's a courage that comes with it, and honestly, there's a breath that I feel, because I'm like, oh, I have room to not have to be perfect and still go out and create out in the world. Yeah, Gina, I see.
Oh,
And
Steve mentioned it. So when I do a lot of work with new entrepreneurs, and the one thing that we talk about is my motto now, I'm a reformed control freak, is good enough. Good enough. Now, I don't mean, half-ass stuff, but when it comes to ideas like, the whole, oh, I'm going to build a course before I sell it. No, 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 no. But it's about being good enough. You know what? There's perfect will kill you in the end, right? Striving for perfection will really destruct you. So good enough.
oh, I love that, Gina. Definitely. The one thing I would say as well, to add to what Samir and Gina said, as entrepreneurs, I think we have this thought process that we need to be the one that knows everything and be in control all the time. And I think opening yourself up to be vulnerable, to expand in my area where I talk about, bring as diverse a network to the table as you possibly can, because that's where you get the experience. That's where you get people that have, differing opinions, different thought processes, unique ways to help you solve your problem. And I see so many entrepreneurs not willing to ask for help because they feel like, because they've sort of self-anointed themselves as the entrepreneur, that they have to be the expert in the room. I tell people all the time. In fact, I was on a call with my software company before we jumped onto this, and I told people I'm the CEO, but I'm really the CDG. I'm the chief dumb guy. I hire really well. I hire great people, and I'm a constant learner. I don't do that to put myself down, but that I bring great people around to support me, because I can't possibly come up with all the answers. I can't possibly do it all. And I feel like a lot of times entrepreneurs end up burning themselves out because they feel like they have to be the master of all, and it really doesn't work. And you will eventually come to regret what you did or what you've selected as a business, or you'll resent it, which is even worse.
And if I can add to that, just when I talk about a borderless mindset, I really want to talk a little bit about the differences in culturing and navigating working in different environments. And so just kind of on that idea of weakness, I have struggled with wanting to be on US time or, Europe time or what have you. And the time that things take in this part of the world, in Africa, is much longer. And so, whereas I could maybe find someone who could do something much quicker and snazzier in the US or in North America or Europe, I have to figure out how to take a step and figure out where I'm going to build resources in the communities that I am in. And so I think that that's something to think about, is as a business leader, as an entrepreneur, part of the responsibility is to grow talent more than just taking on the responsibility all of the time. And so that's that, sometimes it will be good enough because you've had to delegate it and you're looking at having someone be accountable for the work product that they're also bringing forth. Like, you have to be a manager and figure out how to be that kind of manager that grows talent when maybe you might not be used to it, but that's a definite skill that I recommend. And that's the patience of being a business owner, leader, entrepreneur, all of those things.
You are a great group of people. I'm really excited for this year. Outliers, like, please take the time to see let this wash over you, right? Let this wash over you and come in. And I really just appreciate each of you letting us see like what it's really like. One of the underlying premises of this conversation for me, or this whole podcast, is we often compare how we feel on the inside with how others look on the outside. And one of the things I really appreciate about y'all is that you were willing to show both ends, show both ends throughout this. We're going to wrap up our conversation here. And the way that I do this here is twofold. I'm going to ask you each to do two questions. We'll keep it relatively quick here. And then I have one last wrap up question for us. So we'll see if this goes. But in the spirit of like continuously growing and knowing that the game is going on, I would love for each of you to be able to share what's a project that you're taking on right now that really excites you, like maybe even scares you, kind of gives you sweaty palms, right? And like tell us about this year. I would love for Outliers to kind of see like how are you all continuing to walk on your edge here. And if you can share like a project that you're taking on that excites you, that's giving you sweaty palms, and how Outliers can continue down the journey with you if they'd like to go further into your world, that'd be wonderful. You can choose either order of it from there. Why don't this one I'll direct a little bit here. So why don't we go to Steve, then we'll go to Gina.
I was hoping you weren't going to pick me.
If you like,
No,
if you'd like to
no,
start later on, we can do
it's
that.
okay. Yeah, the project that I think I'm kind of pushing myself on is we are taking people that follow me, we call them ripplers, right? People that are out there. The ripple effect is, essentially, if you think about it, is any action you take, big or small, that makes an impact on another person. And so we've tried to create a community that gets away from the fray of like Facebook and some of the social platforms, and actually create an environment where people want to come and practice getting better at connecting, being supportive, actually contributing and adding value to other people's lives, many of which they may not meet in person. So getting that community off the ground has been a labor of love. It's been a lot more challenging than I expected. Keeping people engaged, trying to push the noodle, across the table has been harder than I expected. But the people that are in there, I mean, I've seen people get jobs. I've seen, new opportunities, partnerships start. You only get there if you create the environment for people to sort of spin in one another's orbit and do it in the pretense of, hey, look, I'm not doing this because what's in it for me. I'm doing it because I want to be a contributor and add value to what's in it for you. And so getting people to kind of approach that social platform a little bit differently has been sort of my passion project. As far as how you can follow me, I have a podcast called The Ripple Effect with Steve Harper, Ripple Effect Podcast with Steve Harper on all the major platforms. I've got a YouTube channel that's starting to get some traction. So Samir, I feel your pain. I absolutely know what that's like. And then you can follow me on all social platforms at Ripple On. And my website's ripplecentral.com. You can see, more of what I'm up to there. So I'd encourage anybody that, is out there that hears this episode, if I said or did something that they want to talk about further, please reach out to me.
Thank you, Steve. Let's go to Gina and let's go to Samir.
You want short answers? That's not a short answer question. To reach me, my easiest thing is my website is gina.best. I won the jackpot with the last name. All my information is there. My phone number is there. My email's there. I'm doing a couple new courses, but personally what I'm doing, not long ago, I was having a tattoo touched up and I was talking to my tattoo guy and we were talking about life and blah, 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 blah. And I said to him, it's time that I, step back up because I realize what's happened for the last 10 years. The last few years is I've been whispering instead of shouting. And then he said, like when I first met you. And it was like a kick in the teeth because it's been a really hard journey the last 11 years. And I whisper when I deal with things. So I'm back to shouting. So personally, I decided I was going to upgrade my coaching credential. Don't ask me why. I just decided I'm doing it. So I'm in the process of doing my professional, my PCC, so my professional coaching accreditation with the ICF. And then I do this stuff and think, why am I doing this? And I think, oh my gosh. And then I get the butterflies and I think, oh, doing something right. I'm not sure why I'm doing it, but I'm doing it for me. And my goal is, you know what? I will listen to anyone's story. That's what I'm here for. Yes, we need to make money. Yes, I want to be successful. But for me, it's more about helping, supporting others and finding their voice. And I'm going to reach out to Steve because I'm all about the connection.
And reach out to me, Gina, as well, please, because
I absolutely will.
As far as the projects go for me, Gina mentioned cold calling and how this can be like sometimes scary, and I completely agree. So my project right now is not cold calling, but cold outreach as far as LinkedIn messaging. The thing is, I have the funnel ready. I have the automated software. I'm gonna be like outreaching to hundreds of people without like in my sleep. So that thing is done. Is the easiest part for me to like develop that system. And by the way, if anyone's interested in how I'm doing this, let me know. I'll share that information. But my fear is like, but once they actually reply and they want to get on the call with me, that's my fear, because now I have to sell myself. Right now I have to sell my services, and that thing I need to develop yet. Like, because usually I get my clients organically through references or through connections, but this time I kind of want to automate that process a little bit so I have like a steady flow. So that's what I'm going to be working on. It's just like, how do I actually close through LinkedIn outreach? And yeah, Gina, I see you. Yeah, so I'll be you can reach me out. You can reach me on LinkedIn as well. Samir Azizi, just Google me and I'll be right there.
Thank you, Samir. Florence, you want to bring us home on this?
Sure. So, yeah, I have when you said the project that has me just excited. It's something that has been brewing in my heart and in my mindset for a while, and it is about a solution to a challenge that I see across Africa. And so I am raising a fund. It's going to be called the Pan-African Creative Trust. And it is a foundation or a trust fund that is focused on supporting creative the creation of content, writing, reading, all those things that feed into this information sharing that I am and distributing it. And I want people to think about the Corporation for Public Broadcasting in the US. That is where the model, or the BBC or something like that, there is the model where we're able to fund the creation and the facilitation and the enabling of creative content being shared. And so the key thing is shared. Again, like really making sure that it's not about the money. It's about how do we get it done, and we get it done for children of the African diaspora and all over the world, but definitely focus on telling Pan-African stories and supporting creatives to do that. So that's exciting. And the idea of asking people for a lot of money is a hurdle that's that edge. I haven't asked for a lot of money. I've raised funds for, real estate, hard capital, all that stuff. But for this idea of something that is truly a public good, that's a whole other story. So you can reach me and talk about it. My podcast is glocalcitizenspod.com. That's global plus local, glocalcitizenspod.com. And my socials, my name, Florence Adu, on LinkedIn. And yeah, that's it.
I am in awe and inspired. And I think that's usually what I look for in these conversations. I want us to all have a conversation where everyone's just a little bit in awe and a little bit inspired by everyone that's on here. And so my biggest wish here is that Outliers, you do two things. One, take the time to continue the journey with each of these people, right? They're all up to things that are really wonderful in the world. And two, that you take one insight from this conversation and you apply it for yourself. Like don't sit on this. Like go bring this in, integrate it, and bring it out to life. Know this here, from the bottom of my heart, I'm greatly appreciative of all of you. Thank you for being who you are. And Outliers, until the next time we talk, remember to be you on purpose. Journey on.